Hello, everybody. Once again, this is the Mad Professor from Two Cigars and a Blunt podcast, coming at you Fridays on YouTube and Facebook, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, followed by the Ashed Out After Show, and now Wednesdays, the Better Than Sex Sports podcast, coming on 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Tell me if you've heard this story before. A businessman who's declared bankruptcy at least 6 times, business bankruptcy at least 6 times, runs for president, wins, then loses, then run for president again, and each time coming with some populist message about he cares about the people. He only wants to do what's best for the American people, make America great again. MAGA, you know all the platitudes that he loves to give. He runs on promises that he's going to cut taxes for everybody, cut everyone's costs of living because everything is so high, and then he gets elected and immediately turns the government over to the robber baron class, the people that gave him the most amount of money to do what they wanted him to do, including turning over the reins of the presidency basically to an unelected bureaucrat by the name of President Elon Musk. Now, President Musk runs this department within the government, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, where he promised to cut $2 trillion from the economy. And to do so, he said he's going to weed out the fraud. Now, the only thing he's weeded out is some unintelligent decisions made by himself, basically, because he's cut Veterans Affairs personnel by more than 1,000. He's cut FAA staff. He's getting rid of the Consumer Protection Bureau, of course. And he's now trying to get rid of OSHA. So, drill, baby, drill, but just don't get hurt doing it because you're assed out if you do. One of the cuts that he's also recommended that the Republicans are taking up is cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and of course Social Security. And what they're trying to do at this point is make Medicare and Medicaid, or at least Medicaid, they're trying to add a work requirement to Medicaid. Not with most people not realizing that 92% of Medicaid recipients work already. And they've done the same thing with SNAP benefits in most red states, where you have to work a certain amount of hours to qualify, but then of course you make too much money because the threshold that they hold for you to get assistance is really it's kind of low. It's a low bar that they set, but you have to jump high to get to it, if that makes any sense. Then, of course, because Trump has always hated the Affordable Care Act, they're cutting the budget of the Navigator program, the website that helped people navigate through the Affordable Care Act provisions to find health care that you can afford. They're cutting that department's budget by 90%, almost to $10 million a year. So an already difficult site to get through and navigate through is going to become even more difficult. And that's kind of what they're doing with the work requirement for SNAP benefits and what they hope to do with Medicare, where in the state of Arkansas, nearly, I want to say when I looked at it, it said almost 50,000 people lost SNAP benefits because they couldn't navigate through the website that you would turn in your work requirements, your monthly work requirements. People lost their SNAP benefits because the site would crash or it wouldn't update, so it would look like you didn't work at all. So you immediately lose your benefits. So they're hoping to implement that kind of thing with Medicaid to cut costs to the American government, even though, that's something that those workers pay into because, again, 92% of Medicaid recipients work already. They just can't afford health care because the cost of health care is going up. And because of its rising so rapidly, it's rising at a rate higher than inflation. People are getting rid of private insurance, so they're falling back to Medicaid. So, and the ACA. So doing either one of those is now going to become even more difficult with this new Republican, um, with the new Republican tax mantra. And they're trying to do all of this so that they can extend the 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 and the tax credits, I'm sorry, that they enacted when Trump was in office the first time. And the fact that a lot of I want to say more than 1.5 million people file for bankruptcy yearly because of medical costs, the overrun of medical costs, and the fact that it's becoming so high to take care of your health nowadays with private insurance. No one can actually afford to do anything. And the funny thing is, here in America, it can cost you almost $3,000 a night to stay in the hospital, and that's after your insurance is kicked in. Where in most other developed countries, that price is zero. And Republicans will sit here and tell you that socialized health care is death. But it seems like private health care is death too, because your private insurance can always deny your coverage. And like I said, the thing of it is, everything that they're trying to cut is built to the taxpayer. And if you want to get rid of a lot of waste, get rid of a lot of the paperwork, which costs a lot of money to do. There's no reason that everything has to be that all this paperwork has to go through to get health care and have your insurance that you're paying into, because again, you're working, your taxes are coming out, your taxes are going to Medicaid that you are paying for. You still have a deductible in most cases that you have to pay for, and you still can't afford health care. Now, here's the funny thing about all of this. Realizing how unpopular Doge is and these tax breaks have become, Vice President Trump wants to give 20% of those savings that Doge has found back to the American people. 20%, you say, that sounds great, until you hear his next plan that he talks about from Mar-a-Lago, because, he can't stand to work. So he has to golf every weekend, at least twice a week, really, every weekend. Anyway, I digress. He wants to put a 25% tariff on cars, microchips in computers, and pharmaceuticals that come from other countries, which is where a lot of our pharmaceuticals come from overseas. So that 20% that he wants to give people in the form of a stimulus is going to be eaten up by 25% tariffs on everything we buy. Because, again, he's not that good of a business person that he believes that somehow tariffs go into the pockets of the American people rather than taken away from the pockets of American people, because these companies are going to pass these tariffs. The companies that import all of these goods that he wants to put a tariff on, for those of you who don't know, the companies that import these things, they're the ones who pay the tariff, not the country where the stuff is coming from. The company that brings it in and sells it to you, they're the ones paying the tariffs. It's a tax on imported goods. And because he doesn't know how trade deficits work, he's going to tariff those things, which is going to be passed along to the end consumer, you and I. So, we've saved 25% by cutting jobs, necessary jobs. We've saved 25% by cutting budgets that have absolutely nothing to do with government efficiency, but we're going to raise tariffs on goods that you buy up by 25%. So, inflation be damned. Costs be damned. He's not worrying about costs because he doesn't have to. He and his cronies don't suffer through the same thing that we all suffer from, because they have the money to where they don't care about it. So this DEI presidency, this DEI cabinet, they're doing everything in their power to make sure the American people suffer. And the funniest thing about this is most Medicaid recipients are in rural communities, the ones who vote red no matter what. So these poor people in these rural communities are going to be the ones to suffer the most. They're also the ones who get most SNAP benefits in mostly red states, of course. So the red states that voted for this, including the one I'm in, Louisiana, including the one I'm in, they're the ones who are going to be made to suffer the most. And, this populist DEI president, his populist robber baron class buddies that he put in his cabinet, they don't care about rising costs because they have us to take care of them. It's sad how people will vote against their own best interests all the time. And, that's something to talk about.